Hello, I'm the author of Better Parallels. It's a relief mapping technique which provides better visual quality with lower graphics costs. So it's better than previous or traditional POM technique because it utilizes an additional texture called the relaxed cone map that helps accelerate the ray height map intersection process that will cause less steps to find the real intersection point, and you can always find a real intersection point. It's not assumed or some empirical intersection point. It's indeed the real ray or view ray to the height map intersection point. It's a very physically accurate intersection point. So the visual quality will be much more realistic and better than the POM technique, and it costs less step. The only cost of this technique is an additional texture. However, it only occupies one channel. That means you can combine it with other channel that you may use in your project to save the texture cost. It does not mean you need a RGBA texture. You just need one more texture channel to store this acceleration data for the view ray intersection with the height map. So this is the core principle of this plugin. So now what you are looking at is a demonstration about the shader results. Here you can adjust the pitch angle of the camera and the pitch change speed if you wish to. Also the distance if you want to get closer to check the results, and the rotation speed to check your FPS. Now let's go to the demo scene. The demo scene is mainly a comparison scene where we compare the traditional POM with our technique called the relaxed cone step mapping, or you just call it relief mapping. With small steps, POM will create those layered artifacts, while our technique will not cause those layered artifacts. But to get the same artifact-free result with POM, you have to use more steps, generate the 8 times our techniques, the steps you will need to get the same quality results. The layering issue will be very clear with height map of high frequency change. So it's very clear. However, our algorithm still solves it in 8 to 60 steps. To achieve the same result, you still need at least 34 steps. as I mentioned, our technique provides correct physical true intersection points of our view from our view to the height map. So let me demo this. You have to open or extract this Unity package in the Relaxcon Map demo folder, and I have already extracted that. So never mind, I will delete that, and I will extract again. And now I have to say something. The original URP does not support the PDO, so we have to write a manual script to support the depth writing. So you can take a look into this shader file, and you will know how to write to depth in URP. And this shader utilizes the same technique with this shader include file or HLSL. It has a function for calculating the intersection points from our camera to the height map. So now let's check this demo. This demo is simple. It's just give a result comparison that compares the no PDO case with the PDO case. With the no PDO case, we say, although we will get a view that they looks like have some complex geometry, however, a step is not written, even with GOM or any technique. However, we have provided a PDO output. It's Unity's issue that we cannot assign that in shader graph. So take a look in this shader graph. We have a depth output, but we have no any output point here for us to write the depth offset. So neglect this. This is the shader that's almost the same logic with the shader graph file, but it's written by myself. That's this is shader. It writes to the depth, and you will see now we can say, oh, it has a pixel depth offset and looks so real. Actually, this is still a plan. So you can see how accurate the intersection points that we calculated with this technique. Also, in this cube, we can also check the PDO results. It satisfies our expectation, right? But with this no PDO result or the POM, even we have a visual outlook like have a complex geometry, the depth is not correct. What I want to say is our technique provides accurate PDO, and it can get utilized with URP or built-in. Once you written your own shader code, can take a look with my shader code as a good starting point. In HDRP, I have already provided a shader graph that supports the depth offset PD. It's in the demo folder, so extract this folder, extract this Unity package if you are in HDRP pipeline. So that's about the demo. So now I will tell you how to use this plugin. Let's create an empty scene. And now let's create a box. Sorry, focus on that. And let's find our shader. Let's go to this shader. We will find what is happening. It's a very simple shader. It's used a custom or a sub-shader graph. That is this sub-shader graph. It can drag into the shader graph to use that. Now it has some inputs, but don't worry about that. That's not so important. I will explain these parameters in the later video or later. So traditionally we have a POM, parallel occlusion mapping. So that's almost the same output, the UV and the depth offset. If you can use parallel occlusion mapping shader node, that will get the same when you using this sub-shader node. This gives the UV that you need to sample when you sample any texture, and after sampling, you will pass the value into the master node. So let's talk about the steps. So generally, you have to first play with the linear steps. If the linear step enough, you can play with binary step. It's a cost to find process that finding the intersection points. So now let's create a material from this data graph. So this is the material. Now let's assign the material. It has assigned a normal map. Now we have to assign a high cone texture. So how can we get this texture? Go to Tools, Relax Cone Mapping, Generator, and we have to import a height map texture. In this case, we will use this height map as actually an old displacement map where the zero represents highest and the y represents lowest. So this is unexpected. We expect some height map like this, where 1 represents highest and 0 represents lowest. So when we import this texture, we have to go on the inverse height imports, and we have to select the channel that where the height data resides. In this case, the RGB is both height data. So let's leave it to default. And the algorithm settings. Algorithm setting is quite simple. What's the texture size you want to output? And these two algorithm parameters, I do not recommend anybody to change that. However, its meaning is listed in the tooltip. Once you have read the original texture about relief mapping, you will know how these two parameters meanings. And we use birds to accelerate the texture generation process. It's totally CPU based, so don't worry about your GPU. It works on any machine. So let's get the clone map now. It will output a texture where the first channel, R channel, is the original height data, but the G channel is the clone map. This map we use to accelerate the intersection point calculation process. We always expected a combined texture like this to import into the material. So let's select this material and assign the newly generated height cone texture as it says, height in R channel and the cone in the G channel. So also, if you have some artists that want to manipulate the data channel, you have to remember change the value here, where 1 represents the data stays in the corresponding channel. So now the material is almost ready, but we have to modify some values subtly. First is the height ratio. Now it's at 0.05. We can increase that to make the parallel result more clearly. But in this case, the unit is in word units. So that it says what's the highest value or the highest difference between the highest and the lowest in the highest map in the word units. It's measured in word units. The difference from the highest to the lowest in the highest map. Okay. Now you will see some layering issue, but it's okay. You can solve it by increasing the linear steps or increase the binary steps. I recommend to increase the binary step to 5. On the most cases, it's sufficient. And now we can change the height ratio as we wish. Also, playing with the UV tiling. Okay, the last question is about what's the height offset. Why not play with that first? So it seems it controls the base plan of the height map. So when it's 1, it says the topmost, the highest part of the height data is the base plan. If it says 0, it will say the map, the lowest part is on the plan. So it generally always says what's the data expected to see with the plan. Where is the highest data's peak? So I recommend anybody who sets it to 1 do not play with that. But I leave this out for anybody that wants to do some customization. So that's all. If you have any question, please try reading the original paper or NVIDIA's post. I am the last one you can come and ask for help, and I am always here. So thank you. Please enjoy this plugin and help leave some reviews if you find that it useful. By the way, I have provided HDRP resources that supports PDO with a PDO readed shader graph. Explore that if you are working with HDRP. Thank you.